Hello, YouTube. My name is the Vanilla Nerd. I am called this because, like vanilla, my taste in movies is relatively basic. But seeing as how this is my first video, I wanted to give a little explanation as to how I am going to review movies here in the future. So yes, my channel will mostly be about reviewing movies. That's what I love. I love watching them. I love talking about them, thinking about them, and I figured I should have some way to record that. So in part, this YouTube channel is a way for me to journal all my thoughts about movies and how I feel about them and how I feel about the state of the movies and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting. But I don't plan on just doing movie reviews. I also want to talk about specific scenes from movies that I like, or talk about characters that I love, or talk about weapons, or magic, or science, technology that I enjoy. I want to pick apart these movies a little bit more than just doing reviews. I also hope to be able to do tier lists and ranking videos. Those are some of my favorite things to watch on YouTube, so I want to create my own. I think that's a big reason why I became a creator, was to do what I love watching. So, yeah. Anywho, the purpose of this first video is to talk about how I want to review movies, the general scheme I will use. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule that I will follow to the bitter end, but it is a general way that I review movies, and I think is really helpful for me to break it down into more than just did I like it or did I not. Although I do like that simple binary review style of just yay or nay. However, there's more to it than just did I like a movie or did I not. There's reasons behind it, and understanding those reasons, exploring why I feel the way I feel about movies is really exciting and really fascinating to me, and that's a big reason why I want to review movies on YouTube. Which brings us to the way I review movies, mainly through its character, plot, and setting. Which, this is no surprise, these are the three fundamental building blocks of all stories, and so naturally whether I like or not like a movie is based on whether they got these building blocks right. You know, to continue the metaphor, did they use the right materials? Did they support it properly? Now, specifically, I like character, plot, and setting in that order. For me, characters come first. If you have good characters, I'm more likely to forgive a poor plot or a poor setting. Similarly, a really good plot can make up for pretty poor characters and pretty bad settings. And there are times when a setting can overcome not great characters and not a great plot, but we'll get to that. To begin, I want to talk about character. And with each one of these, I'm going to explain a movie where just one of them kind of carries the rest of the movie. For character, I want to talk about Man of Steel. Now, if you haven't seen Man of Steel, I'm sorry. It's like a 10-year-old movie, so you probably should have seen it at this point, but you've been warned. I am going to spoil it. So anyway, in Man of Steel, the character of Clark Kent is really interesting, really fascinating to me. I love how he has this challenge where his Earth father doesn't want him using his powers all that much, but his space father definitely wants him using his powers and being a symbol to the people. And he really has just been trying to find his place in the world for the last 30 years. And I really like that. I think it's really fascinating. Similarly, the villain Zod, being genetically bred to protect Krypton at all costs, losing the planet but still holding out hope that he can recreate it somewhere else, is great. And at the end, where he's just depressed, and then he delivers this scene.
I exist only to protect Krypton. That is what you have taken from me.
It's just so good, and I love it. On top of that, Clark's parents are both great, along with Lois Lane. All the characters were good, but the plot of this movie wasn't that great. It had a lot of big holes, which I'm not really going to go into right now, and the setting was just kind of a boring old city yet again. The Kryptonian ships looked pretty cool, and I did like what they did with Krypton, but besides that, there's not much going for this movie. What really carries it for me is the characters, and it's a great example of how even with a mediocre plot and a pretty boring setting, you can have good characters make a movie great. Next on our list, I want to talk about plot, and I want to share a movie in which the plot is better than either the character or the settings and makes up for the lackluster characters. That movie for me is Rogue One. Now, before you all hate me, I want you to know I do like Rogue One. I do like the characters in Rogue One. It's just the main character that I have a problem with. Jyn Erso really is not that cool. I mean, she had so much potential. She could have been so much cooler, but she just wasn't. Now, to her credit, I will say that after the first third of the movie, she became a lot more interesting. She stopped being a passive character, stopped letting things happen to her, and rather started acting for herself, which is great. But by then, the damage was done. And let's be real, I never had too much of an emotional connection to any one of these characters. I really was much more interested in the plot of a band of rebels trying to get the Death Star plans. And at the end, when you have this awesome space fight where you can feel the tension, the stakes that are at play, you can feel the emotion of these people dying, it's a great scene, and it's mostly driven by the plot of the movie. Yes, there is our emotional connection to these characters, and when each one of them die, particularly K2SO and Chirrut, when they die, it's pretty sad, but ultimately, I'm really more interested in the plot. The plot's what drives this movie. The plot is what makes this movie great and what leaves me wanting more. So that's my example of plot overcoming bad characters, although I will say didn't really have to overcome a bad setting. The setting of the Star Wars universe is pretty cool and was a huge reason that movie was a success. Last, but certainly not least, it's time to talk about setting. And I want to give an example where setting overcomes plot and character, and there's really only one subset of examples I can think of, which are movies with big explosions and lots of action. What better movie to discuss than the original Transformers movie? Now, again, spoilers for this movie. It's been out for over 10 years, so you should have seen it. But if not, there's not much to spoil. Big robots, big action. To those of you who have seen this movie, you know that it's not big on its characters. I know Sam Witwicky is the main one, and beyond that, I can't really tell you who his girlfriend or that other guy is in the poster. I know you got Optimus, Bumblebee, and Megatron as the main Transformers, but their characters are even less developed than the human ones, which is saying something. However, this movie is still good. I still enjoy watching it because I do just like explosions. I do just like the really cool action, seeing the Transformers transform and in and out of their vehicles, using their laser guns to shoot off people's heads and to fight and have these cool action scenes. The CGI artists should really be commended because that's what carries this movie. I like seeing it because it's a spectacle. It's nothing thematically powerful. It's not very moving emotionally one way or the other, but it delivers a solid action film that makes me go, yeah, and pump my fists in the air after I've seen it. But to close out setting here for a second, I just want to say that the idea of Transformers, these giant robots that can turn into our everyday human vehicles and turn into big hulking robots with laser guns and swords, is really cool. And that's a huge aspect of setting. It's the magic system. It's the technological advancement of the people there. It's not just where the movie takes place or the pretty look of the setting they're actually set in. It's also the technology and stuff. There are loads of movies out there with cool ideas and cool concepts, a part of their world, a part of their time period, that make me want to watch that movie and make setting a critical piece. So, even though setting's at the bottom, it's still a key factor. But this brings up the idea of how much do setting, character, and plot overlap. As you can see in this picture, I purposefully had these circles overlapping each other because there's times where they do cross over. The character drives the plot. The plot needed a cool aspect of the setting in order for the characters to succeed. And when a movie has multiple aspects to it, not just good characters, but also a good plot, also good settings, and all that stuff. That's when a movie succeeds. That's why it's gold and shiny right in the middle, is when you get all three just right, it's perfect. It's beautiful. So, of course, I'm going to have a movie example where all three are really strong and one is really not better than the other, that being Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I will say the villain in this movie isn't anything to gawk at. Ronan the Accuser, you probably don't even remember his name. But besides that, the main five Guardians, amazing character development. Yondu, super fun character in his band of Ravengers. Works great. The plot of this mysterious orb, not knowing what's inside it for the first half of the movie, then discovering and then trying to figure out whether you're going to try and save the galaxy or just run away. Great. Perfect. And at the end, my favorite scene in that entire movie is when Star-Lord grabs the Power Stone before Ronan can. His friends come around him. They grab onto his shoulder, help him share the load of the Power Stone. Then he uses it to kill Ronan. It's great. The music is swelling at this point. It's perfect. The characters that I care about are interacting with a magic stone from the setting that I've been entertained by to fulfill the plot and kill the villain in a satisfying way. It's great. I wouldn't change a thing. So that's how I review movies. Most of the time, if I have a problem with it, it can come back to one of these three things. Occasionally, there's an aspect of like the theme or the message that the movie's trying to share that I don't like, but I usually don't like to get into that because theme is really an individual experience for every person. It's up to you what you want to take away from the movie. That's the beauty of art. So anywho, that's how I'm going to be reviewing movies. I will be releasing a video tomorrow using these things to review the original trilogy of Star Wars. I'm going to be talking about the characters individually in the movies and overall throughout the entire trilogy. I'm going to be talking about the plots of each movie. I'm going to be talking about the setting of the Star Wars universe. And hopefully, I can keep doing this. And eventually, I want to do individual reviews of each of these movies. But I like to do that after I've just watched the movie. So my thoughts on the movie and my understanding of it is fresh and new. So while you're waiting for that video to come out, please like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video. If you didn't, I understand. Leave me a comment on how I can do better. This is my first video. I know I've got lots to learn, much to improve on. So I look forward to that journey, and I look forward to becoming a creator in 2023.